always that easy to manage to get people in Norway to come to seminars. There's so many seminars on human rights. So the interest for the issues we are talking about here today, human rights in Turkey, is certainly something that is touching many people in Norway. I have prepared some slides, but I've seen the slides Martin has presented before, and I'm sorry to say that my slides are really poor compared with yours. So even though according to your statement, there are no foreigners, but when it comes to details, there are surely some people that are more Turkish than others. So my presentation is very short, very brief. It's based upon a mission I did for the Norwegian Embassy in Ankara on looking into the human rights situation in Turkey and giving some advice to the Norwegian Embassy. Of course, what I'm saying here today has nothing with the embassy to do, even though it's based upon the knowledge I got when I was visiting, and there is no connection in that regard with my words and whatever is the Norwegian authorities' position on this. So, but that being said, one thing is that is really striking is Turkey. How Turkey is placed, seen from a European perspective, and how Turkey, the long history of Turkey, the situation today with Syria and other troublesome neighbors, the transformation Turkey has been through the last decades, the economic growth, and also today the new visions of the sitting president and his men on re-establishing Turkey as a regional power, or almost a regional superpower. So I think when we're talking about the situation in Turkey today, we have to take into account the reactions from other European countries, from the US, from Russia. It has the perspectives on human rights and the feedback on human rights situation in Turkey has something with Turkey's position to do as a bridge between Europe and some other more troublesome countries in the world. So I have been looking at the case law from the European Court of Human Rights. I will also look into two other main documents, and I'll be short. I will keep my 10 minutes. And before I present these different slides, I have to say that the European Court of Human Rights is moving steady but slowly. So if there is something going on in a country, if there are human rights violations, you first have to make use of the domestic courts, and it will take some time before the case is presented before the European Court on Human Rights. And when it's presented, it sometimes will take pretty long time before something is there will be given results. But then again, this story is not the only story, because sometimes when the situation is really bad, you don't need to access the domestic remedies. You can go straight to the court. In addition, if there are cases that are a little bit too much similar to each other, the court will kind of sum up and give one decision. So it could be sometimes in one judgment, it could be 10 people, it could be 100 people, it could be 80,000 people behind one final judgment from the European Court on Human Rights. So these figures are, in a way, saying very little compared with the numbers that Martin presented for us. But it said the value of these figures is that it's from a international body, the Court on Human Rights in Europe, and giving them support to the figures that are produced within the country. So these are violations. I've compared with a couple of other more or less troublesome countries. Turkey, Russia, Ukraine are the most popular countries when it comes to the European Court on Human Rights. And Poland, in my point of view, is a candidate. You will see some of the similarities that we have in Turkey today. You might also be seeing in, for example, Poland. But then, looking into the figures, we can see a raise in cases on freedom of expression. We can see on freedom of assembly and association. On fair trial, it's increased a couple of last years. If this seminar had been held 2 days on Thursday, we would have new numbers for 2015, but I didn't get access to the numbers today. So we're still working on 2014 numbers. On Right to Life, it's a little bit odd, but then remember Metin's figures, and I guess for the coming years we will see an increase again. The same when it comes to torture and treatment. On freedom of religion and belief, the report from the Helsinki Committee is far better and far more detailed than what these numbers are showing us. And again, in my opinion, these are the numbers I could find, but they are not really supporting the reality that I, at least myself, was meeting when I was in Turkey. This was one platform on where we could build a rather sad story for Turkey when it comes to human rights protection. And the Council of Europe has also, through its Human Rights Commissioner, comments on Turkey in a report that was released in November 2015, or September and November, sorry, in 2015. And then you can see the statements. It's not really happy about the situation on the curfews, and time has passed since. And I guess if you're going to dive into this again, you will see that the use of curfews and the kind of the absoluteness is in the measures, and without taking into concern less kind of imposing measures than curfews, or trying to adopt these to the situation in the country, you will get more negative reports in the future than what you had in this Council of Europe Human Rights Commissioner report. I have some pieces from the report. I don't need to go into this. This is kind of just to show again that the Council of Europe is not really happy with the situation in the country. I also took a glance at what the Commissioner is saying about media, and again, supporting both Metin and the Helsinki report, showing that these are measures that should be dropped. This is not in accordance with the standards that we find under the European Convention on Human Rights, and a country that still strives to be part of the European unity. Then moving to the third source, which again is supporting what has been said earlier on, and which is maybe even more important for the strategy that Turkey now is entering into, still trying to be a member of the EU, or at least having even better relations with the EU than they have today. And the report is pretty critical, and again, finding the word backsliding, again, one word that Metin was using, is also the impression of the European Commission. And this is, I will come back to this in my really last slide, but it's again, the measures taken are too harsh, too little dynamic, too little taking into account the human rights situation of the people concerned, and too much focusing on whatever the public authorities are seeing the situation where they would need to take measures. These three sources, the Council of Europe, the Court, the Commissioner, and the EU Commission, are also supported by civil society organizations. And as we saw with the Helsinki report, with Metin's presentation, and I guess also with Amnesty's presentation now, we will find the same in Reporters Without Borders. It's a little bit stressing that Turkey is ranked 149 out of 180. And the bottom of this report, it's a pretty close race. So being 149, 159, or 139 doesn't really make all that much difference. This is not kind of the top This is not the place you should start if you would like to have a future as a reporter or establish your media house. You will find the same with Human Rights Watch. They're not really happy about what is going on the curfew situations, and PEN International and PEN Norway has also made a report on this, and they are not really happy there either. I think that from my point of view, it's I think the most stressful in a way is one is the backsliding, which is pretty obvious. This is going in the wrong direction. And then the second is that sometimes when you see human rights violations, it's out of pure stupidity. Like the government authorities are just stupid. They just do this because they're blunt, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the information, they don't really know what they're doing. Another way of violating human rights is because it's necessary to achieve some political goals. And that, in my point of view, is usually more dangerous. That you have an idea on establishing human rights violations in order to control the population, in order to win elections, in order to get hold of money and resources, etc. And I'm not really sure if this is pure stupidity or if this is seen upon as a necessity from the public authorities in Turkey. The third element is on the willingness from the authorities and representatives of the authorities on violating human rights. It is going on for a long time. It's pretty grave. It's pretty massive, many people concerned. It's on block, it's not kind of one, it's not on freedom of expression only, it's not on assembly only, it's not on torture only, but it's kind of, it's pretty widespread. This is a wall-to-wall human rights violation situation. So, sometimes when you look into situations like you have in Turkey, sometimes you wonder, is there some kind of a master plan? Is there someone that really wants the country to enter into this situation? And then I really hope, as the question was asked before I entered the scene, is there anyone that has a master plan to try to get out of it afterwards? Okay, thank you.